This March 10th, 2020 meeting to the Coralville City Council now open. Roll call.
Mayor Pro-tem Gross.
Here.
Foster.
Present.
Gill. Present. Dodds.
Present.
Goodrich.
Here.
All right, all council members are here. Mayor Lindell and City Administrator Hayworth are in Washington, D.C. Doing city business, so we appreciate their efforts there. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gill, seconded by Goodrich. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. I do have one proclamation that I will read at this point. This is to commemorate the 2020 census. Whereas a decennial census is mandated by the United States Constitution and has been conducted every 10 years since 1790, and whereas census data is used to determine the distribution of over $675 billion in federal funds annually for programs in education, housing, public transportation, roads, school meals, Medicaid, Medicare, and other purposes, and whereas census data is used to apportion seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, and whereas census information is secure and confidential, and completed the census is each household's civic duty, and whereas the city of Coralville is committed to a complete and accurate count, and whereas residents will receive an invitation to participate in the census beginning March 12, 2020, and whereas Iowa has a proud history of prompt response to the census, and in 2020, responding will be easier than ever with telephone and online responses available. Now, therefore, I, Mitch Gross, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Coralville, do hereby proclaim April 1st, 2020 as Census Day in the City of Coralville and encourage all residents to participate and be counted. Signed on this day, March 10th, 2020. Do we have anybody from the census?
Ellen.
I will say our own Ellen Hobble has been like one of the state's gurus for the census. We are very, very honored to have her be part of this. Do you want to say a few words, Ellen? All right.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And we really have been working hard towards this date of April 1st. And starting this week, people will start to get their invitation to participate in the mail. And the census is so important for Coralville. And those numbers are used for 10 years. So it's important that we get a complete count. And I do participate on both a local metro complete count committee and a state complete count committee. And across the board, everybody wants to get the word out of how important and safe and easy it is to participate in the census. We are planning an event for April 1st, so watch for that. And we're going to try to, we don't quite have all the details yet, but on April 1st, we'll have an event to help people complete their census survey if they want to. If you need help, you're welcome to go to the library at Coralville, and as always, they're helpful there too to provide assistance. But again, you can provide your survey information either online or by phone, and if you need a paper survey, you can get one sent to you too. So we look forward to finding out the final number.
Great. Thank you very much, Ellen. Any other comments on the census? Okay, at this time, citizen comments. If a citizen in the audience would like to speak on a topic that's not on the agenda, this would be your time to do so. If you do so, please state your name into the microphone and what your business before the council is.
Looks like it's just me. I will start by passing this out to one person so I don't come and stand in front of each of you individually. Keep the distancing thing to a maximum if we can. I'm happy to be here. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Brad Kunkel. I'm here tonight just to introduce myself and talk to you about why I'm running for Johnson County Sheriff. In case you weren't aware, Sheriff Polkrovik's retiring at the end of the year. I've been at the Sheriff's Office about 20 years, and I'm really excited about the opportunity that we have to move forward with a lot of the great things we're doing in Johnson County. I want to take a couple minutes just to talk about why I'm running, tell you a little bit about me, what my goals are, and then what I'm asking for you. But I want to start just by saying thank you for what you do. I spent 6 years on the City Council in Solon, so I know that council meetings, budget meetings, which I'm sure, are you guys approving your budget tonight?
Tonight.
Okay. I know that's a long process. I know there's extra meetings throughout the winter and a lot of other things you do aside from council duties that keep you busy. So again, thank you for what you do. I've sat in a similar seat and I understand the commitment. A little bit about me. I grew up in West Branch. I've been in the area my whole life, but I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 20 years. So I've spent half my life essentially serving Johnson County in a public safety capacity. At the Sheriff's Office, I'm a detective at the moment. I started my career in the jail, worked patrol, I was a sergeant for a few years, and now I'm an investigator. I'm also the Sheriff's Office PIO, so I handle, as you guys have for your city, the public media requests and media releases, those kind of things all come out through me as well. I'm excited about this opportunity because this is my home. This is where I grew up in this area. This is where I'm raising my family, and this is where I've chosen to serve my whole career. And I'm excited about the opportunity to build on what we've done at the Sheriff's Office and move forward with everything that we've achieved in my career. The goals I've kind of laid out in front of you on that card are they're pretty important to say the least because they have broad impacts, but I think more importantly, they're very tangible, reachable, and achievable goals that will have a lot of effects. First and foremost is just changing our priorities on how we handle domestic violence and building a comprehensive domestic violence protocol in how we handle not only cases where an arrest is made, but many cases where there's some sort of a domestic violence or intimate partner nexus to the call that we're handling. By doing more on the front end with a lot of these cases, we can build better cases and I think have better outcomes not only for victims and survivors, but by holding offenders accountable. Second on there, when I talk about a cybercrime and computer forensics task force, so what that means is in Johnson County, you've all heard about we have a drug task force. It's a very successful group that is organized by multiple agencies contributing a person, resources to combating drug crime. We need to do the same thing when it comes to computer crime and forensics. As about everybody in this room probably has now is a smartphone, so do criminals. And that means crime is so interconnected with technology. We have to do more just to stay up to pace with what changes in technology. Everything from harassment to human trafficking to homicide has a cyber nexus. And when you talk about child pornography, for example, there are now more videos of child sex abuse material on the internet than there are images. And that's largely because of the proliferation of cell phones and just technology. We have to do more to keep up with that, but we have to work together with other agencies to accomplish that goal. And then lastly, we all know the jail is still old, it's still overcrowded, we still spend a lot of money housing inmates out of county. But one of the big issues and kind of messages we took from the failed bond referendums was we have to do more to help those suffering from a mental health or substance abuse crisis. And so our jail alternatives program kind of came out of that. It's very successful. We have to make sure we're sustaining that, but we're also making sure that we're moving forward with CIT training every year, but that we're also a strong partner with the Access Center. I believe you folks are invested in that substantially, and I want to thank you for that too, because I really think that's a valuable piece in how we help people before they're incarcerated or before they go to the revolving door of the healthcare system. You know, unfortunately, law enforcement is kind of a lot of people's access to mental health care or the healthcare system in general. And I really see us partnering with the Access Center to help take us out of that equation and have people go straight there, whether it's for sobering or a mental health crisis or a substance abuse crisis. So what I'm asking from you, one, is your feedback. I don't necessarily know if you want to do that tonight. I know you've got a big agenda. But I would like to hear from you about what's important to you as an elected official and partnering with other law enforcement agencies in the county, but also as voters in the county, what's important to you about an elected official and in a law enforcement capacity. I think that's really important feedback. So if you have that feedback, please send it to me or tell me a time where we can get together and talk about those things. My email address is there on that card. My website is on there. I also have a Facebook page. Any one of those, you can find a little more information about me or use that to reach out and touch base with me. This is a primary election, which is on June 2nd, so I would also ask for your vote if you're so inclined to. June 2nd, early voting starts, I think, May 4th. But between now and then, if you have that feedback, if you have those ideas or any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out to me. I would love to hear that information or hear your thoughts or what you have to say. If you have a question around, I'd love to answer it. Anything burning at all that I can touch on, or you want to keep moving forward and put on some hand sanitizer just to make sure you're safe?
Any questions for Brad?
Well, yeah, thank you for your time. And again, thank you for what you do. Hopefully you have an efficient and well-run meeting tonight. I'm sure you will. I have full confidence in your Mayor Pro-tem. So thank you and appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, that's a lot of confidence, Brad. Thank you. Any other comments, public comments? Okay, next on the agenda, item 6 is really the highlight of the year. This is our most watched meeting of the year because everyone wants to hear Tony Rotland's budget hearing. So I'm going to call, first of all, we'll get the budget presentation, then we'll call the public hearing open. But Tony, if you want to give citizens of Coralville an overview of where the budget stands.
Yes, I can do that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro-tem. So I'll just give this a moment to open. Here we go. Okay, so the City of Coralville's proposed fiscal year 2021 budget covers the time span that begins July 1st of 2020 through June 30th of 2021. We are proposing a property tax rate of $14.3123 per thousand of taxable value. We had the same tax rate, 13.5277 for a decade, basically. So this is a proposed increase. The proposed debt service tax rate is unchanged at 2.1202. The chief goals in budgeting always are to pass a balanced budget, to maintain the property tax rate when possible, to maintain sufficient fund balances, and provide high-quality public services. Challenges are, as you might expect, generally rising costs, just like many households face, planning for future needs and projects, and for fiscal year 2021 specifically, a decrease in the taxable value due to the rollback for the general fund. And then we have a few slides in here that I won't go through in detail, but they talk about property taxation in Iowa, how it works, how the different classes of property relate to one another. And one of the important ways they relate to one another is in terms of the rollback, excuse me, which is presented for two different fiscal years on this slide. So for FY20 that we're currently in, and for FY21 that we're budgeting for, and you can see the two that went down significantly were residential property and multi-residential or apartment buildings. So then we have a couple slides for residential and for commercial property that show for a hypothetical property what the taxable value change and the tax rate proposal mean to a citizen's City of Coralville tax bill. So for a residential property assessed at $100,000 by the county assessor, the taxable value will decrease in FY21 versus FY20 by a little over $1,800, and then the tax rate proposed will increase from $1,353 to $1,431. And so the property tax under this budget proposal to be paid to the city for the city portion of that homeowner's bill will increase by almost $36 for the year. And then this is a similar assessment or example for a commercial property assessed at $500,000. The taxable value will remain the same because the commercial property rollback did not change. So the tax rate proposed increases, and the property tax paid to the city for FY21 versus FY20 will increase by about $353. There was commercial property tax reform in 2013. It covered actually the commercial and the industrial property classes. And the reason I keep this slide in is it provides a little background on the backfill payments or replacement payments that the state set up when that change was made to continue to fund public safety and other costs paid out of the general fund, the debt service fund, and the various funds of cities and counties. Hopefully they will, at the state level, they will continue to fund those. Those are important. There are several components to the property tax levy for the city, 5 to be precise. And so here is a chart that, or a table rather, that shows for each of those 5 pieces what the proposed property tax rate is for the current fiscal year and the upcoming year that we're budgeting for. So you can see that the first row, the general levy, is the same. Tort liability, so think insurance and things like that, is proposed to increase slightly. Transit, just a little bit. Trust and agency, a little more, and then debt service the same. And then you'll see that they total the two tax rates we talked about before. So then, if we take the city of Coralville's property tax picture and insert it on this table into the typical taxpayer in Coralville's total tax bill. So we have the school district, the city of Coralville, the county, Kirkwood Community College, and a few other levies. You can see that if we use the proposed city of Coralville FY21 rate and the current actual FY20 rates for the other bodies, because they are not finalized yet, then you can see that the city of Coralville is about $14.31 out of a total property tax rate of $37.16. So then graphically representing this is what we do on the next slide. So you can see the Iowa City Schools is about 40%. City of Coralville is just slightly less than 40% of the average or typical taxpayer's bill in the city of Coralville. Johnson County is 17%, and then we have the other smaller levies as well. So we had a new budget step this year that was provided for in legislation passed about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, and it provided for an additional notice, an additional hearing. That hearing was held last meeting. The notice and the procedures are generally referred to as the max levy procedures in hearing. What that shows is the current FY20 tax rates and dollars and the FY21 tax rate and dollars if the same dollars were requested. But what it does not show, which is odd given what we choose to call it, frankly, the max levy proceedings, does not show the actual total current or proposed tax rate. So here's, and folks can look at this if they'd like online or get copies of it by contacting us. But in the first column, it shows the current fiscal year. At the bottom, you'll see 11.40749. That's the current property tax rate for certain levies that the state mandated appear on this notice. And we don't really have the latitude to add the other levies. But if we did, I have a note in the bottom left-hand corner that shows that the current total rate is 13.5277. The difference is the debt levy. On the far right, for the proposed tax dollars and tax rate, I've done the same. I've added a note or a bubble that just shows what the total amount is. So the general fund is the city's chief operating fund. It receives its revenues from property taxes, hotel motel taxes, licenses and permits, and rent and interest. Also intergovernmental amounts like grants or contracts between the city of Coralville and other governments. Charges for services like rec programs, and then there are borrowings or interfund transfers as well. The estimated revenue for FY21 under this proposal is $29,332,385, which is a 4% increase from FY20. That revenue supports public safety, health and social services, culture and recreation, development, general government, and various contingency funds. And the split up or proportionality of the different finance or revenue sources, is shown here. So you can see the bulk is property taxes and excise taxes. And then it sort of runs in decreasing magnitude from there. Hotel motel tax is 10%. That's very significant. So then the general fund has departmental budgets on the expenditure side. This is a chart listing by department from highest proportion to lowest, the general fund expenditures that are budgeted under this proposal. So you can see Park and Rec and Public Safety are at the top, and it goes down the list. Road use tax. This is an area where there's a linear and direct implication to the census referred to earlier by several people during this meeting and talked about by Ellen Hobble. It is important. The state road use taxes or fuel taxes are distributed based on the last official census to cities. So the higher your population, the more road use tax money the city gets. The citizens are paying it either way, so it might as well come back to their city through census counts. The estimated revenues for the coming year are just a little over 2.4 million for the streets department from road use tax. We're proposing no change in rate structure for any of the city's enterprise funds: public transit, water, wastewater, solid waste, parking, or stormwater. And the budget proposal includes about several things, many things, but I have listed here 6 specific things. These are sort of larger and items that are in the budget and things that we in the staff think people might be more interested in. They're not sort of the mundane items, but an additional patrol officer for the police department, replacement of a paratransit vehicle for public transit, things like that. And then we have here an enterprise fund overview just to give people a feel for the overall size of the different enterprise funds: water, wastewater, etc. So timing, process, and additional information. The Connection magazine, which is available on the website, coralville.org, and has already been sent to citizens and businesses in their mail, has an article about the budget. And we had the March 10th public hearing. We're holding today the March 10th public hearing. We are planning on adopting the budget on March 24th at the regular meeting, and then it'll be filed with the county and the state. If anyone needs additional information, it can be obtained through the website at coralville.org, at City Hall, by calling or emailing, and on Coral Vision.
Great. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
At this time, I will open the public hearing on the 2021 budget. I don't see anybody who wants to say anything, so I'll move on.
Not so fast, Mr. Mayor Pro-tem. We have to raise the budget by a pen with some ink in it this year.
Budget cuts, Rex.
All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro-tem and council people, our members. Thank you for having the doors open tonight and have the opportunity for the citizens to come down and comment. I would make a quick comment regarding the census, which is so very important to a lot of the expenditures that we have, whether we like it or not. Road use tax to be right where it's supposed to go, and you can drive around the streets of any community with the frost coming out, and you'll know we need help again. So the census is coming just the right time. I would say also that in 1922, when the Branstadters arrived on the western shores of Coralville, which weren't even in Coralville yet, which is now known as 509 6th Avenue, or formerly Houston Street, we made an even 300. So that's where when we got here. The house is still down there, and Grandma and Grandpa and the 3 kids at that time made an even 300 to Coralville. So we've got kind of the baseline for right there as well. My pleasure to be here tonight to talk about just what Tony talked about. which is so very, very important to me at a minimum, and I call it what a wonderful time what you folks have been through since actually starting last fall when you started thinking about this in your department heads, what they go through, and then the demands that you put on them to bring in underlying current of a responsible requests. They all would want more. I understand that. Everybody understands that. That's the way things work, and it's your job to sort of to be the filter and send them back home. But now, thank you for that. But how about this? Let's see if we can't do something. Well, I note obviously that there's an increase in taxes this year, with actually 0.7846 is the amount on the millage, and that's when we mentioned the fact that the taxes would go up roughly $35. That's $35 per $100,000 of assessment. So in my case, it'll be a little over $110 or something for that, just for the residential properties. The commercial properties, depending on your assessment, a $500,000 assessment will raise your taxes about $353. So if you take that magnitude on a small guy like me and I say, well, I wonder what the mall's going to be paying, that's the ripple effect of a tax increase. And I know you'll feel it on your own residential properties. And if you own commercial property, you'll feel it there. That's where you get the old saying of, well, we'll just pass it on to the customer, because that's what people have to do. But I'll tell you how we can work this out, I think, this evening. I know you hoping I had it figured out, which I hope I do too. I know you held the millage line for 10 years, and that really had a lot to do. That was a great ride, if you will. But in exchange for the taxes, as we saw on the chart this evening, the taxpayers, we the taxpayers, you the taxpayers, are going to get such benefits as a new snowplow, a truck, an additional police officer, a new paratransit bus, new rescue tools for the fire department, a new garbage truck, and some new furniture for the library. I had 2 calls today from people. Are you going to go to the budget hearing? I said, yes, I am. They said, well, we see it's going to go. What are we going to get? So I explained that to them. They said, oh, maybe that's the first time they really realized they were going to see something tangible for what they're going to get. And when I said garbage truck, one guy said, oh, good, they need that. So I think you solved your whole issue just by 2 phone calls today, as far as I'm concerned, sir. So really, there's not much to argue about here. That's never my thing anyhow. But the glimmer of the good news for the taxpayer, yes, there is good news for the taxpayer here, are the amenities that we're going to get through the new taxes, are the legislative rollbacks that you saw. And I'm pretty close to the legislative rollback business for a little job that I have. And that's going to help. And I'm sure you know this. If you don't, well, just a short itty-bitty refresher course is the Iowa legislative rollback. I challenge you to find 2 people who can sit down in the same room and explain it to you. And it's tied to tied to the value of a residential property tax. It's tied to agriculture. It's tied to the cost of a bushel of corn. And that's just the way it is. So it's I'm happy to see that that's gone down, and you all know how that works for sure. And the other good news that I see in this budget is that there's no enterprise fund, quote, dings, if you will. You know, I've often said that maybe we shouldn't shower as much as we do because the water was going to go up, or the solid waste in jest. But you've held the line there, which to me shows a really good responsibility there, that we've got a lot of things going. And you know, we can't run a ship with no fuel, and it looks like we need a little more fuel, in my opinion. And I know you've worked with every department head, and I know this is a responsible. I do know this. I do know that your department heads are very responsible leaders in each of their own departments. And my guess is that their requests are pretty much in line with their expectations, how they see it on a good solid footing there. So while I'm never happy with the tax increase, we could say the old saying, well, I never felt better about living in Coralville, but had less. That might apply here, but really, it's not about having less. It's about having, for the money we're going to spend, we're actually going to get more. And I think that's a good thing. So we do care. The taxpayers do care, regardless if I'm the only one here tonight. We do care, and we do like good, responsible leadership. That's what you emulate, and that's what you exude down here. and I appreciate your efforts for that. So thanks to each and every one of you for your service to the city of Coralville, because you are all, as we are citizens of Coralville, and we all appreciate your efforts here. So I notice that the budget is not who wants to work on the budget. I also think that you probably work more on the city budget than you might your own budget at home. So think that's unfortunate. That's probably true, but that's the way it is. So thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rex. We always look forward and appreciate the time that you take as a citizen to check the books, and we appreciate your input. And I think on that note, too, we obviously appreciate Ellen and Tony and all the department heads for their work on this, because I think our council has a pretty good record of, just as what Mr. Branstad said, of not wanting to raise taxes. We have a record of not doing that, but this time is a little different, and we're in a good position that we don't always have to tell our department heads no, because I think they understand the situation going in. So we really, all of us, I speak for all my colleagues up here, for thanking the staff for the way that they approach this budget. Any other comments in the public hearing? I will close the public hearing then, and we will vote on a resolution setting the date for the public hearing on the fiscal 2021 budget.
Resolution setting a date for the public hearing on the fiscal year 2021 budget, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second. Ooh, can I second it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You get to vote. You
Yeah.
just get to,
Go ahead.
we won't,
I
yeah.
have to say my name in the third person. It's like Bob Dole kind of a little bit here. So moved by Foster, seconded by Gross. All in favor say, oh,
No.
no, roll call.
Gross,
Aye.
Gill,
Aye.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich,
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0, 4-0, 5-0. 5-0.
5-0, yeah.
Item 7, amendments to urban renewal areas. Don, the resolution, please.
Resolution setting a date for the consultation and date for a public hearing on amendment number 9 to the Coralville amended and restated urban renewal plan for the Coralville urban renewal area, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gill, seconded by.
Second.
Moved by Gill, seconded by Goodrich. Discussion?
If you're, just remind you, the Coralville area is actually what everybody refers to as Oakdale. So Coralville was the first one, so that's why it's called the Coralville.
Perfect.
urban area.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Gill,
Aye.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gross.
Aye. Motion passes. Resolution passes 5-0. Item B. Don?
Resolution setting a date for the consultation and a date for a public hearing on the proposed amended and restated urban renewal plan for the 12th Avenue urban renewal area, amendment number 9, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Moved by Dodge, seconded by Gill. Discussions on item B. Roll call.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gross.
Aye. Gill.
Aye.
Resolution passes 5-0. Item 8. Don, the resolution.
Resolution setting the date for a public hearing on proposals to enter into a road use tax revenue loan agreement and borrow money thereunder in a principal amount not to exceed $6 million. Introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Moved by Goodrich, seconded by Foster. Ellen, do you want to give it just maybe a little brief?
I defer to Tony on
Tony,
that.
yeah. Ellen to Tony, yes. Hi, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sneak up on it.
So I'll just say broadly, and we can talk about them specifically if there's a desire to do that, but items A, B, and C under 8 collectively, taken together, finance streets, street infrastructure, and streetscape on First Avenue, 12th Avenue, East 2nd Avenue, and East 9th Street, and provide for the refinancing of 6 different prior bond issues originally issued between 2011 and 2017.
Excellent. Thank you. Don, the resolution, roll call vote, right?
Foster,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Gill,
Aye.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution passes 5-0. Item B. Don?
Resolution to fix a date for a public hearing on general obligation essential corporate purpose loan agreement, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Moved by Foster, seconded by Dodds. Discussion. Roll call.
Gross,
Aye.
Gill,
Aye.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich,
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Resolution passes 5-0. Item C. Don?
Resolution to fix a date for a public hearing on the issuance of not to exceed $8,500,000 urban renewal tax increment revenue bonds, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gill, seconded by.
Second.
Moved by Gill, second by Goodrich. Discussion. Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Resolution passes 5-0. Item 9, Don?
Resolution approving an engineering services agreement with HR Green Inc. for interior drainage remodeling, pump station number 7. Introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodd, seconded by.
Second. Moved by Dodds, second by Gill. Discussion on item 9.
I would just point out, this is for the area roughly south of Highway 6 and west of Clear Creek, and looking at how we should plan for stormwater as we go forward with development and redevelopment of that area.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill. Dodds.
Aye.
Resolution passes 5-0. Item 10, consider motion to approve the consent calendar as presented or amended.
Move to approve the consent calendar items A through T inclusive.
Second.
Moved by Gill, seconded by Dodge. Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. City Administrator's report. Ellen?
I just have a few quick things. Again, I want to mention the census. You should get your letter within the next week. Go ahead and log on. I think it's My Census 2020 is live now, and you will get a number with your letter inviting you to participate. And when you enter that onto that website, it walks you through providing your information. If you don't get that letter, if you lose the letter, whatever, you can still complete the survey and get counted, which is very important. I want to thank Rex for coming and for doing his part studying the budget and taking those calls and representing your fellow constituents. We appreciate that every year. I want to remind people, I know there is a lot of talk about the COVID-19 virus. It's important to wash your hands and follow the information you see on the Iowa Department of Public Health and CDC websites. That's the most important and accurate information you will find. And I have some breaking news regarding yard waste. Because of this great spring we're having, and I know that winter came a little early for everybody, we're going to do some early yard waste pickup on Mondays and Fridays, March 16th, 20th, 23rd, and 27th. We'll collect the whole city as time allows. So if you've been out there raking and picking up the leaves that were left over from the winter, we'll be picking them up starting Monday and Friday for 2 weeks. And then after that, regular pickup will start, weather permitting.
Anything else?
And that's all I have.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem's report here. So since I get to go at this point, I do have a few things to say at this point. So today, because Mayor Lindell is gone, I was representing the city from elected officials capacity. Chief Crum was there, Chief Schweitzer was there, regarding an update on what is going with COVID-19 coronavirus. A couple of things I would like to update. There's a press conference afterwards. I think I'd like to do two things at this time. Number one, because I think it's important that we as a city are proactive on this and kind of ahead of the curve and to dispel any of the myths that are out there. There are some rumors out there that I think we need to correct. Number one, I had a few constituents call and ask about Coralville residents who were near death at the University of Iowa Hospital. That is not true. There are no Coralville residents near death at the University of Iowa Hospital. In fact, there are no Johnson County residents inflicted with coronavirus at the University of Iowa Hospital. We do know there are 7 confirmed cases, positive cases in Johnson County. Those 6 of those 7 individuals are at home in quarantine. One is in another facility that is getting better, but the perception that things are doom and gloom are a little misguided. I think it's very important that we reemphasize that panic shouldn't be equated with being proactive. I think a lot of folks are trying to be proactive right now, to be proactive to make sure that things don't get worse. So some steps are being taken and could be taken in the coming days by different entities. But I think the important thing that we were told today at the briefing is that number one, having 7 people in your county test positive, that's not ideal, but it's not the same thing as community transmission. And having it being spread throughout the communities is a much different issue. No one can predict if that happens or doesn't happen, but I think it's important that we report and talk about and plan for what is happening right now, and then to also be, again, proactive with what could happen. And I think that's what the different municipalities, the county, the University of Iowa, and 2 of our major healthcare facilities here in the county are doing. So I was very appreciative to be at that briefing today. I'll be at that as well as tomorrow until the mayor gets back from his trip in Washington. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody on council has regarding what I heard at this briefing, because I think it's something that a lot of us will be getting calls or comments about. Any questions at all? Okay, good. That's all I had. City Attorney's report.
I was going to ask for a further review of the proposed budget, but Rex answered all my questions. So I have nothing more.
Excellent.
Kevin?
Kevin.
Just a reminder about the census that I always like to tell people is people are sometimes asked about their information being out there. Well, the by federal law, the census can't be revealed to the public for till 72 years after it's taken. So right now, the last public census is 1940. Rex wasn't even here by then. So you can't even find Rex in a public census yet. So Don probably yes, but not Rex.
All righty, thank you. We'll start down here. Councilmember Foster.
I have nothing tonight.
Was my presence down there just so overwhelming you couldn't
Yeah,
comment?
I just am lost without you sitting next to me.
Wow, okay. Councilmember Goodrich.
I feel like I'm overstepping a little bit, but just thinking positive. There's great camps and programs at the CCPA for this summer for kids. So as you maybe are staying home a little more these next while, you can go online and check out all the events, and also at the rec center to get your summer plans in line. Thanks.
Thank you, Lori. Councilmember Dodds.
I have nothing. Thank you, Mayor.
Great. Councilmember Gill.
Just like to thank everybody that came out to the library for the golf Sunday. It was a well-attended event. Lori was there, and it was well-attended. I'd like to thank the city for all their hard work this year. I'd like to thank Rex for his annual financial budget. We do these things and we raise this. We want this community to stay as good as it is and improve on it. So, and that means in everything, all our infrastructure, our public safety, and we provide the things that the community demands. So that's why we're moving ahead on this. And lastly, I'd like everybody to know that I think I've said this before, that Rex's family came in 1922. Rex's grandfather was the city marshal, and Rex's grandfather picked up my great uncle when he came from Whiting, Iowa in his ambulance and arrested him for speeding. He had his light going, and the town marshal pulled him over. That's all.
Thank you, Tom. I think I'll end on one note that kind of ties in what you just said, Tom, because it reminded me. I was not at the library event this Sunday because I was at dance in Perry, Iowa.
Oh, yes.
All weekend long. But my wife, my youngest daughter, had a basketball tryout with All Iowa Attack at getting ready for the new facility, and my wife videoed the head of All Iowa Attack talking, because my wife said it's probably the best commercial she's ever heard from Coralville. And I'm trying to send it to everybody. It's too long, so I've got to try to parse it down. But she just basically said that the guy went kind of through a history of saying why they could have gone anywhere in Iowa, and All Iowa Attack is probably the biggest sports names in Iowa, if not the Midwest. And she just said it was the way. She said she was so moved the way he talked about Coralville, why they came to Coralville, the facility they're going to be moving into, the amazing support they've received from the city, from the arena staff, from the field house staff. So I think, just to touch base, I think there's a lot of good things going on. So appreciate with that. We will have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gill, second by Goodrich. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Might be a record.
Thank you.
44 minutes.